When I was learning web scraping, I would always get the same answer when asking about how to scale up or how to avoid being blocked, and that was to use good proxies. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad answer, it's just not a complete one. So let's look into why proxies aren't a one and done solution, but why you still need them and how to use them properly. So we're Zite, and we help our clients scrape data at a massive scale through both our SaaS and DaaS services. So why don't proxies work like they used to? Well, the main factor here is the huge advancements in the technology used to detect and ban requests made to a website based on the owner's criteria. Rotating IPs used to be a solid option, but you really can't rely on that solely anymore, as there are multiple different ways other than the IP itself to detect and block. The systems and tech available now to anyone who runs a website of any size is incredible, and the costs for these services just keep coming down whilst their ability goes up. The most sophisticated systems utilize a whole host of techniques, things like JavaScript tests that you need to pass to gain access, to advanced fingerprinting techniques, pulling data from your browser, and monitoring mouse and keyboard actions and movements. And given the rise in AI, quickly and easily profiling and checking the data here is just more accessible than ever. I mean, it's insane how much information can be attained from this alone. And one of the traps I think that beginners fall into with proxies is not matching their IP time zone to their local time zone in their browser. A simple but very easy thing to miss, which can result in a ban and a massive headache for you. And if you've ever wondered why your code that uses just Python requests gets blocked a lot, it's because it has a very unique TLS fingerprint that most don't know about. This makes it very easy to block, regardless of how good your proxy IPs are. But you do need proxies, right? Yes, now that is true. As I stated at the top of this video, having a set of good quality IPs is now just a base requirement rather than a useful perk. Think of it as a foundation that you can build your house on. To have the most success, it's important to match the IP to the overall session, meaning, all the cookies and the headers from that original successful request are passed along with all the subsequent requests. What's key here is getting the initial 200 OK. Now, a lot of common WAFs use cookies that are generated as a pass, meaning that once you've cleared that session, it's okay to carry on, and making requests with this subsequently you can utilize to carry on effectively and efficiently. The problem is that although this sounds simple, reality is that it takes a lot of time and effort to set up and manage. And in fact, this is what we use at Zite a lot to manage our bans, and we also use it to reduce our costs. So if you've ever scraped a lot of data with full browsers, you'll know how heavy they are both for data and resources. We want to challenge the narrative here. We believe in a shift over from just using proxies to a web scraping API should be the default and can benefit anyone who wants to access web data quickly and easily, while still retaining control over their own developer environment. The Zite API is exactly this. It's a simple but extremely powerful solution that will work for small projects and new developers right the way up to the pro scraping millions of pages of data. And we're so confident in it, it's what we use here for our data business. But why is it better than using proxies and doing it all yourself? Well, I want to address this, but first we need to understand the total cost of ownership over a web scraping project. Web scraping is kind of unlike any other software solution. At one end, it comes with a lot of unknowns like site-specific solutions, cutting-edge tooling, and highly technical infrastructure, and all this constant upkeep and maintenance. Yet on the other hand, in some cases, you can actually scrape data with 3 lines of code. This is a massive gap, and that learning curve means there's a lot of technical teams that can scrape one site successfully, yet fall into the trap of thinking it'll be easy to manage and maintain multiple more scrapers with minimal effort, when this just simply isn't the case. And this is the benefit of moving away from a solely proxy-based solution to our Zite API. We take away all those pain points of managing and scaling a web scraping project, meaning less work and developer time for you, in turn saving costs. Just like building a successful app, your end users and customers don't care what language or framework you use, as long as the end result facilitates their needs. And it's that end result that we really want to get you access to. And if a site changes and the data center proxies you were using now get blocked, you need to spend time or either find more time to do that work or to change it up, change the proxies to residential, and that's an increase in cost, both in time and proxy cost. With us, it's a flat cost per request based on the site, not a cost per gigabyte. You know how many pages you're scraping, it's relatively easy to work out and scale out the pricing. In fact, go to Zite.com now and ask the bot what it might cost you to scrape 1 million pages of your target site and see for yourself. So let me show you how easy it is now to get some data from our API and how you can get started in just a few lines of code. So here I have one of the most simple examples. We're going to be using Python and requests, and all we need to do is make this post request to our API URL, send in the auth with your API key, which is when you log in, you'll find it in there, and then send the JSON body here. Now I have a few parameters that I'm using, the URL, which is what I want the HTML from, HTTP response body, and follow redirects. This isn't strictly needed, but this is how the simplest you can actually get it. Now the response is going to come base 64 encoded, so we need to decode that. But when I run this here, the request is going to be made to our API. It's going to follow the parameters that we set with the body, and it's going to give us that response back here. Now I've just printed the whole response, so it's a little bit messy, but you can see here I have the HTML for that whole page back with me. Now there's a lot more we can do with this, a lot more parameters in here. We can do things like auto extract, so that we can tell the API that we know this is a product page and it's going to respond with a JSON schema with the data in already passed out, which is really useful. We can also get it to run a browser for us if we need that browser to go off in the cloud and get that data that way. It's very versatile and it's very easy to use. Here you just need to get your API key. I'm obviously pulling mine from a virtual environment, which is the safer way to do so. But this is it. Basically, it's just one simple post request. You can use any language you like. Anything like that will work fine, making a post request. But obviously for us, we work in Python, so we have our own Python package to help simplify this if you are interested in that. And it also integrates extremely well into Scrapy. So stick around because I'm going to be doing some Site API Scrapy videos as well to show you how to do that. It's very, very useful, and we think this is the way forward in web scraping.